The woman standing outside Cole's Hardware looked lost in a way that had nothing to do with directions. Ethan Cole had owned the small hardware store for 8 years, inherited from his father and kept running through sheer stubbornness and the steady income it provided for raising his 9-year-old son, Max, alone since his wife left them both 3 years earlier. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when the woman wandered in, dressed plainly in jeans and a faded jacket, studying the aisles with the confused expression of someone who never set foot in a hardware store in her life. "Can I help you find something?" Ethan asked, noting her hesitation near the plumbing section. "I'm trying to fix a leaky faucet," she said, sounding slightly embarrassed by the admission. "I know that probably sounds ridiculous, needing help with something so simple." "Not ridiculous at all," Ethan said easily. "Plenty of people have never needed to fix one before." "What's it doing exactly?" Her name, she told him, was Alex, no last name offered, which Ethan didn't think much of at the time. She explained, somewhat vaguely, that she was staying at a rental property nearby and the landlord was slow to respond to maintenance requests. Ethan walked her through the basics, sold her a washer kit for $12, and even offered, when her uncertainty didn't fade, to stop by after closing to help if she still couldn't manage it herself. What Ethan didn't know was that Alex was actually Alexandra Whitfield, CEO of Whitfield Global Holdings and one of the wealthiest women in the country, currently 3 weeks into a deliberate, carefully orchestrated escape from her own life. Exhausted by a decade of relationships that inevitably dissolved once men discovered her net worth, and increasingly convinced that nobody could see her as anything other than a business opportunity, Alexandra had rented a modest house under a different name, determined to experience, however briefly, what it felt like to be seen as an ordinary person. Ethan showed up that evening exactly as promised, tools in hand, Max trailing behind him after finishing his homework at the store. "This is Max," Ethan said, introducing his son, who offered Alexandra a shy wave before immediately becoming fascinated by her house's slightly overgrown garden. "He's welcome to explore the yard while we work," Alexandra said, unexpectedly charmed by the boy's easy curiosity. Fixing the faucet took less than 20 minutes, Ethan patiently explaining each step rather than simply doing it himself, genuinely interested in making sure she understood the process rather than just wanting the job finished. Afterward, feeling awkward about accepting nothing in return for his evening, Alexandra insisted on making dinner, a simple pasta dish that turned into an unexpectedly long, easy conversation stretching well past when Ethan had originally planned to leave. "You didn't have to come back tonight," Alexandra said, watching Max chase fireflies through the darkening yard. "You'd already helped me plenty at the store. I wanted to make sure it actually got fixed properly," Ethan said. "Also, honestly, it's nice having dinner conversation that isn't just me asking Max about his homework." Alexandra laughed, genuine and unguarded in a way she rarely allowed herself anymore. "I imagine parenting alone doesn't leave much room for adult conversation." "Not much," Ethan admitted. "What about you? Family nearby, or just work that brought you out this way?" Alexandra hesitated, the familiar instinct to deflect rising automatically. "Just needed a change of scenery for a while," she said, which wasn't entirely a lie. "Work's been a lot lately." Over the following weeks, their paths crossed with increasing frequency, Alexandra finding small reasons to visit the hardware store, Ethan finding himself looking forward to her visits more than he wanted to examine too closely. She learned about his late father, about the quiet grief of running a business built from someone else's legacy while raising a son largely alone. He learned, or thought he learned, about a woman named Alex who'd taken time away from an unspecified stressful job to figure out what she actually wanted from her life. It was Max, characteristically direct in the way only children manage, who eventually complicated things. "Dad, why does Alex's car have a driver sometimes?" Max asked one evening, having noticed a sleek black sedan idling near her rental house during a recent visit, a driver waiting patiently despite Alexandra insisting she'd walk to the store that day. Ethan hadn't noticed it himself, too focused on the woman rather than the details surrounding her, but Max's question lodged itself uncomfortably in his mind. That night, unable to shake his curiosity, he searched her first name alongside a few identifying details he'd absorbed from their conversations, an offhand mention of international travel, an expensive watch she'd once forgotten to remove, a habit of speaking about the board in ways that seemed oddly specific for someone claiming an unspecified stressful job. It took less than 10 minutes to find her. Ethan confronted her carefully, without anger, the following afternoon at the store. "Alexandra Whitfield," he said quietly, once the store had cleared of other customers. "CEO of Whitfield Global Holdings." Alexandra's face went pale. "Ethan, I can explain." "You don't owe me an explanation," Ethan said, though the hurt was evident beneath his measured tone. "I just wish you trusted me enough to just tell me. I wanted, for once, to know if someone could actually like me," Alexandra admitted, her composure finally cracking. "Not my company, not my money. Just me. I've spent years unable to tell the difference, and the moment people find out who I am, everything changes. I didn't want that to happen with you." "Not yet." Ethan studied her for a long moment, understanding, despite his hurt, the loneliness beneath her deception. "I liked Alex," he said finally. "The woman who didn't know how to fix a faucet and laughed too loud at Max's terrible jokes. I need to know that's actually who you are, underneath everything else." "It is," Alexandra said quietly. "It's the only version of myself I've genuinely liked in years." Rebuilding trust took time, honest conversations, and a slower, more deliberate courtship than either of them had originally stumbled into. But Ethan never wavered once he understood the truth, not because of what Alexandra could offer him, but because the woman he fixed a faucet for on an ordinary Tuesday evening had never actually been a disguise at all. She'd simply been, for the first time in years, entirely herself.